Imagine standing in line at a movie theater on a cold Friday night, paying $15 for a ticket, buying $10 worth of popcorn, and sitting down in a dark room with high expectations. 45 minutes into the film, you realize that the story is completely terrible, the dialogue is painful, and you are having a genuinely miserable time sitting in that seat. Instead of walking out to enjoy the rest of your evening, you force yourself to sit through another painful hour, silently telling yourself that you have to stay because you already spent the $25. What you do not realize in that exact moment is that your brain has fallen directly into an invisible psychological trap that drains human bank accounts every single day. The exact same mental bug that makes you sit through an awful movie is the exact same failure of logic that keeps intelligent people trapped in dead-end jobs and toxic relationships. Psychologists have studied this mental mechanism for decades, but almost nobody sits us down in school to explain how this single cognitive error works in plain, everyday language. Every single week on this channel, we break down one powerful psychological concept using simple stories so you can understand why your brain makes expensive mistakes without you knowing it. If you want to protect your hard-earned money and start making decisions like the most successful thinkers in the world, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell right now. To understand why smart people keep paying for their past mistakes, we have to look at how human brains evaluate value when choices go completely wrong in real life. In 1985, researchers Hal Arkes and Catherine Blumer decided to test this exact behavior using a clever experiment involving non-refundable theater season tickets. They sold seasonal theater packages to random buyers at 3 different price levels, charging some people full price while giving other buyers unexpected discounts at the box office. What the researchers discovered at the end of the season was shocking, because the people who paid full price attended significantly more plays than the people who got tickets for cheap. The actual value of the plays was identical for every single ticket holder, yet the amount of money spent in the past dictated how much effort people put into showing up. Psychologists officially named this behavioral pattern the Sunk Cost Fallacy. And once you recognize its core structure, you will begin seeing it in every corner of your life. A sunk cost is simply any investment of money, time, or emotional energy that has already been spent and can never be recovered under any circumstance whatsoever. Rational logic dictates that past expenditures should never influence future decisions, because that money is already gone whether you continue the activity or walk away completely. But human brains did not evolve to think like cold, calculating computers. Which brings us to the deeply emotional reason why we hate cutting our losses when things fail. Think about the last time you ordered a meal at an expensive restaurant that turned out to be far too big for your appetite to finish comfortably. Instead of stopping when your stomach was comfortably full, you probably forced yourself to eat extra bites just so you would not feel like your hard-earned money went to waste. Notice the strange paradox operating inside your head during that dinner. Because eating extra food did not bring your spent money back into your bank account at all. You paid the bill at the door, but then you chose to pay a second time by making yourself physically uncomfortable just to avoid admitting that the money was truly gone. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman proved that human beings experience loss aversion, meaning the psychological pain of losing something feels twice as intense as the joy of gaining it. When you walk away from a bad project or an unfulfilling investment, your brain interprets that action as a permanent loss rather than an intelligent strategic pivot for your future. To keep yourself from feeling the sharp emotional sting of failure, your brain tricks you into throwing even more resources into a sinking ship just to keep the fantasy alive. While forcing yourself to eat extra food or finish a boring movie is relatively harmless, corporations and governments make this exact same error on a multi-billion-dollar scale. In the 1960s, the British and French governments joined forces to build Concorde, a revolutionary commercial jet designed to travel faster than the speed of sound. Midway through the development process, physical tests proved that the aircraft was financially unviable and would never generate enough passenger revenue to cover its massive operational costs. Instead of canceling the project early and saving taxpayers billions of dollars, politicians kept pouring public funds into the jet because they had already committed so much money. They spent an estimated $2.8 billion over nearly 3 decades on a project that everyone knew was doomed, giving birth to the famous Concorde effect. Before I show you the most counterintuitive part of how this bias ruins personal careers, let us look at how modern subscription platforms use this against you every day. Tech companies understand that once you invest time organizing playlists, building customized profiles, or paying for annual memberships, you become extremely hesitant to cancel your account. Even if a competing service becomes cheaper or significantly better, your brain overvalues the hours you already logged, keeping you paying monthly fees for services you barely use. Stay with me right here, because what I am about to show you in the next 2 minutes is the part that changes how you look at your own life decisions forever. Most people assume that sunk costs are only about dollars and cents, but the deadliest form of this fallacy involves the non-refundable currency of human time and identity. Consider a professional who spends 4 years in college earning a specialized degree, only to realize 2 years into their career that they completely despise the daily work. Instead of switching industries to build a joyful life, they stay in that soul-crushing job for 30 years because they tell themselves that quitting wastes their college degree. Notice the heartbreaking flaw in that reasoning, because staying in a miserable career for another 30 years does not retroactively change the 4 years spent in college. The 4 years are gone forever, no matter what you do next, so remaining miserable simply adds 30 wasted years on top of the original 4 years you spent learning. The exact same tragedy happens in personal relationships, where individuals remain in toxic partnerships simply because they have already put 5 or 10 years into the union. They say phrases like, "I cannot walk away now," after investing a decade of my life, completely ignoring the fact that staying guarantees another decade of unhappiness. When you stay in a damaging situation purely to justify past effort, you are letting a younger version of yourself control your future happiness from the grave. Investors make this exact mistake in stock markets when they hold on to crashing companies, refusing to sell at a loss because they want to break even on their initial purchase price. They watch their portfolio shrink month after month, passing up incredible growth opportunities elsewhere, simply because they refuse to accept a small loss today. This irrational fear of closing a bad trade is the exact reason why individual retail investors consistently perform far worse than disciplined quantitative algorithms. Professional decision makers understand a fundamental rule that most average people overlook. Money already spent is entirely irrelevant to future returns. The smartest strategists in the world treat every single morning as a brand new day, reevaluating their portfolios and projects with zero emotional attachment to past costs. If an idea does not make sense today based on current facts, they abandon it instantly and redirect their valuable resources toward opportunities with higher future payouts. You can begin applying this elite strategic mindset to your daily life by developing a simple habit of radical honesty whenever you face a difficult choice. Whenever you feel hesitant to walk away from a project, job, or commitment, stop and ask yourself what you would do if you were looking at the situation for the very first time. If you had $0 and 0 hours invested in this commitment today, would you choose to start it right now based on what you currently know? If your honest answer is no, then continuing to stay in that situation is simply paying extra interest on a debt that you do not actually owe to anyone. Walking away from a mistake is not a sign of weakness or failure, but rather a profound demonstration of strategic intelligence and self-respect. You are not wasting the past by changing direction today. You are simply protecting the only asset you still control, which is your future time and focus. Once you liberate yourself from the heavy burden of past expenses, you free up immediate mental space to build the financial freedom you truly desire. Let us pull this entire lesson together so you can walk away from this video with a clear action plan to protect your choices moving forward. First, remember that past investments of time and money are gone forever, and no future action can ever bring those lost resources back into your hands. Second, evaluate every single opportunity based solely on future potential rather than emotional attachment to things you have already lost in the past. Third, celebrate the moments when you choose to cut your losses quickly, because every quick exit saves you years of wasted effort and unnecessary financial pain. By mastering this single psychological concept, you place yourself far ahead of most people who remain trapped in costly mistakes for their entire lives. Share this video with one person you care about who might be staying in a bad situation, because one honest conversation about this concept could change how they see their future.